everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you how you can paint this colorful Eiffel Tower. This is a really fun, loose, expressive painting, and to help me bring this painting to you is my husband, John.
Hello.
When I am teaching or explaining a technique or showing a color mix, John is going to make sure that the camera is pointed or zoomed in so you guys can really see what's happening at home. Because what you guys can see and understand, you guys can generally duplicate. Now, this painting is part of a really cool challenge called Acrylic August. And of course, you could just do it because you're like, no, I got excited about the Paris Olympics this year and I just wanted to paint an Eiffel Tower. And I would be like, me too. That's why I did this one. Right? But you know, I'd love to encourage you to consider the challenge. It goes, it starts August 1st and it goes to the 31st. Though you can do this any time of the year. The program is there all year. You just begin and then there's 31 paintings and you do your best to paint daily. And it's part of this, a free thing. It's a lot of fun. If you check the description below, you're going to see a lot of resources. There's going to be a link to the traceable. I'm going to mention it a lot. You're definitely going to, for this one, going to want to use that tool unless your freehanding skills are real spot on. And that's okay if they are. But you know what? It's okay if they're not. That's what the traceable is for. And that's a link down there that you can find. You'll find a link to my website. I have an art store on my website. So if there's a material here or brush that you're like, man, I need to have that one, that is available in my art store. But most of the stuff I do, you could do with any brushes that you have. So don't feel like you've got to I'm not good at shameless self-promotion. But, you know, we have one, and if you need it, it's there for you, and that's great. I can't think of anything else but to say, get your brushes and get your paints and come back. I'm going to actually show you how to paint this gorgeous painting of the Eiffel Tower. So for today's project, what we have here is an 8x8 canvas, and I also have the printout or the traceable, so you want to go by the website. Again, if you check the description below, there's a link to the traceable, and you would print that out. Now, if you have really good architectural skills and you want to freehand it, that's totally okay. I'll tell you when you do that, but we do have the traceable ready to go and a 8x8 canvas underneath it. On my palette, I have the colors Burnt Sienna, Phthalo Green, Cad Yellow Medium, Cad Red Medium, Quinacridone Magenta, Ultramarine Blue, Phthalo Blue, Mars Black, and in the center we have Titanium White. Let's throw up step one. So step one is the traceable or freehanding the image on. Now, I have here the printout from my website. It's printed out at 100% scale, so it's an 8x8. And then you'll notice that I have ceril paper, and I have the blue ceril paper, right? That's because yellow and white are too hard to see on a white surface. And I have it the dark side down. I have taped both the ceril paper and the traceable in 4 locations so that it won't move. Now, to get the image on the canvas, all you do is you go over the lines that you have. And I think it's a good idea just to use a pen or something so you can see the lines that you made. And you just trace over everything. Not too bad. So I like using the traceable for this because when it's architecture, it's so easy to get lost in it. Right? And this way, at least we have the basic lines working. Yeah. And we don't have, I've just done this a while and I've freehanded some towers. And what I've learned is that freehanded towers are funky towers. They got the funk about them.
That's true.
Right, so I'm just going over this. Pressing down pretty hard. You know what? I might do a T-square ruler here. Where I have straight lines, I might use my ruler to help me keep straight lines. Not nice?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see how we're doing. You can check underneath, and if the lines are transferring in, then you should be able to remove the traceable. So I will unhook this and just come around and very carefully, you can use this again and again, by the way, the paper, the ceril paper, you can use more than one time on a single traceable. Like this one I could use on an 8x8 canvas for probably 10, 20 different traceables. Ah, look, we have the nice little lines on here. I'll put my image to the side so we have the blue transfer on. You can kind of see that on there. Now, you could freehand it in if you feel confident in that. But again, traceable is there so you can feel anchored. Shall we throw up the next step? Step 2 is I'm going to paint this all in black. I'm going to take my number 6 round sepia brush. I'm going to bring a drop of water over to my black paint to kind of thin it. And I'm going to paint everything that I have here with black. Very carefully. Now, I will be painting some of this back in once I do the background, but because black is such a strong color and we're doing such transparent layering techniques for the background, doing it this way will make sure that we have a nice tower. And also so that our really beautiful lighting that's going around the tower goes around the tower. I like making sure that there's little observation decks. The little decks. So they've actually got a kind of a crisis going on with the Eiffel Tower right now. One of the lower legs is not doing well, and it's going to be an extraordinary amount of money to repair it. So they're going through that process right at the moment.
I cannot imagine that it would be an inexpensive thing to be, fixing.
No, it's like, the GDP of a small country.
I'm sure. It's a big piece of metal.
It is a big piece of metal, and, the type of skilled laborers that you would need to be able to repair it are not cheap, right? And France is pretty good about paying its people a pretty good wage.
Yeah.
I live there, and that's one of the things I learned is they have some pretty good programs in place. So I imagine anyone working on it, is going to be doing pretty well. As you should, if a giant piece of metal could fall on you.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I'm not in charge of any construction projects, so all my opinions here are moot on everything. Just paint this in. It's a little bit fussy. And it's not the only coat we'll do. Again, at the end, we'll come back and repaint it in. Now we're going to do something special here, so don't paint it in until you see me do it, because I'm going to do it a special way. Right here, I am going to outline the foot in relief there, but I'm not going to paint it in. Because later we're going to add a little bit of highlight. When the front highlights with all the lights and everything, then it can be black behind there and it will look right. But if we do it both black, we won't be able to see it.
Ah, okay.
And there we go. Nice little tower on that side. Get a little more paint here. I'm going to come along here. And as even and straight as I can be. Even as straight as I can be. And then I'm going to have one. Let's get this fluid again. That's me bringing a drop of water over to improve flow. Some little lights in perspective, and we have them on both sides. So we have to kind of do the same on this side as well. Go off the edge here, I think. These are just placeholders to know where our lights are. They're not all we're going to do in our lights. We just need to know where those poles are. All right. One last thing, which is the tiny little spire. There we go. It's our tower. And we know what it looks like now, and it's saved. We're going to dry this thoroughly and come back. I'll show you what we do next. Now, remember, if you're painting with me live or on the replay, when I go to dry it, what you do is you pause the video, dry your own painting, and then hit play again when you're done, and that keeps us painting at the same time together. All right, I'm going to dry this. All right, so I'm going to want to start putting in the light. I'm going to take a 1/2-inch angle brush. This is a Catalyst by Princeton. I'm going to start with my yellow. I'm going to come under here and I'm going to paint in some yellow down here. And it's okay if a little of it goes over. And I'm going to come down a little bit below the tower with this color. Kind of straight down. I'm going to come right in here. And I'm going to begin to do a rough, the brush strokes kind of go like this. They go down sometimes, they go across, they go at an angle, they go at a different angle. We're trying to make random brush strokes that make random patterns. I do want the yellow to go right up to the tower. We're going to have white over the top of this, but we just definitely want to have this sort of two-toned fun sky. So I'm coming down with my yellow. Yellow, 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 yellow. Now right here, I have an invisible line, right, that goes like that. And that is going to be some distant landscape. Again, the lampposts are only here so that I can put them back in later. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my red and yellow together and make an orange. Kind of layer that through. Also doing the randomized brush strokes. Grab a little bit of my magenta and my cad red together. Again, this is just the first layer of us blending in the color. Come back in through here. You can see how we're weaving. You can always come back in with like a little yellow and weave it back into here. Now down here, I'm going to rinse out pretty thoroughly. I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo green and my burnt sienna. Come here and I'm going to paint carefully enough around the pole so that I don't lose my pole. So I'm being a little bit precious, just so that I know I can see the pole again later. Now when I add a little more green to it, and then I'm going to come over to my yellow. Make little tiny bush marks. So like little leaves coming out. Some more yellow. Again, I just need to be able to see where my poles went. Take a little bit of this same dark green. And we'll be doing this layer twice. So it'll be a chromatic black. A chromatic black is a black that doesn't have any black pigment in it, but the value of it is so dark that your eye thinks of it as black.
Oh, that's cool.
So I have enough in here to see my little poles. You can see that there. So I'm going to leave that over there, and we're going to call this step done. Step done.
Step done.
Step done. That's what we're calling it. Step done.
Or are we just moving on to the next part?
I'm going to dry it so I don't drag my hand through paint, but you wouldn't have to dry it. I'm just doing that because otherwise I'm messy.
Right.
And I don't want to be messy. So I'm going to dry it enough so if I rest my hand, I don't have red all over it. So now I'm going to come over this side and do the cool side. I'm going to start with my ultramarine blue, and I'm going to go ahead and tap a little line across here and just paint this in blue. Now, this is not as dark as the other side, but it will be as dark as the other side. But we just want to get some blue on it to start. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue and my Quinacridone Magenta. I might even grab a little phthalo blue and make quite a dark color here. Come up here. This dark color. And I'm coming through here. This is going to go over my little poles. Just a little bit. And rinse out. Rinse out pretty well. And I think I'm going to grab some of my yellow. Just pure yellow. Come into this, and you can see it kind of makes it a little bit green there. And again, we're going to have white through here, but you want to have a little bit of that yellow glow in there. A little bit of the yellow glow. And again, we're going to paint our tower twice, so it's going to be like really dark. All right, that's all the way up to the top for the light. I'll rinse out. Take a little bit of my quinacridone, my ultramarine blue. Grab a little white so we can see this color. It's like a little more purple. I'll layer it back into the little tree area. Now over here where these kind of blend in, they're going to go a little bit gray. But we're okay with that. Kind of blend that out there. Rinse, 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 rinse. I'm going to grab a little bit of my white, my phthalo blue. Weave it back into this purple here. We're just getting it in. Weave it into the yellow. It's okay that it goes a little turquoise. We're just making randomized colors. Blending these two little zones into each other. Just dance that brush stroke, different directions.
I love this background.
It's just going to be so pretty. So pretty. All right, draw everything. So now I'm going to do something kind of interesting here. I'm going to come in with my blue. This is my phthalo blue and my ultramarine blue and a little bit of my Quinacridone Magenta. Makes me that kind of deep indigo. And I'm going to brush down This deep indigo. We'll put some light reflections in later. We'll do a little dancing here. Just bring this down here. Then we're going to have a little bit of an arch. Like kind of jump my brush up and down. We'll see how that one goes when we get there. Go ahead and grab a little yellow. Do a little reflection out so that I've got just a little bit double entendre there. All right, rinse out. Let's call that a step. And we don't have to dry it. We're just going to continue on. I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow and my red. Make a nice little orange. Take a little bit of my red. I'll rinse out. Just creating all this like color, which I really, really like. I'm going to grab a little bit of my ultramarine blue over to my Quin, and I'm going to make kind of a Merlot. Have that like Merlot back here. Darker colors. And dark through here. Maybe a little bit of white. So it's that same color, but I'm kind of working some white into it. That's looking good. Rinse that. Take a little of my yellow and some white. It should still be distinctly yellow. If you need to add a little more yellow to it, add more yellow to it. Because you want to leave room for the white to do a color surprise out here. Bring that value to the forefront. Just making little marks, letting them blend on the canvas. So it's another way to make a transition, right?
Yeah.
Get some purple. Rinse out. Looking pretty good. So I'm going to come in and grab a little more of my green gold. I'm going to add a little more yellow to my green. And I'm going to make sure that these little edges here are a little more lit up brightly. I don't paint out my lights. I just want to make sure that these are a little more green. Like kind of a yellow green, because they're closer to the light. I can always go into my darker. Rinse out if I have to. Take a little bit of green and burnt sienna. Makes a nice dark color. Paint around my little light poles because, man, I don't want to lose that information. You know, want to keep those there. Okay, let's call that a step, and we're going to work the other side. So I'm going to come into here, and I'm going to grab a little bit of my phthalo blue and phthalo green together, and I'm going to make some turquoise. Come up here in the corner, bring that down the side. Nice dark color. Let's get a little white into it. Kind of reveal how beautifully turquoise this is. A little bit more there. I can grab some yellow into it so it's a little more green gold. Can grab some just blue. Can rinse out. Take a little bit of my burgundy over here and make up some Merlot. I'm adding a little ultramarine blue to my quinacridone. Grab a little white. Just break up the color there. Rinse out a little bit. Grab a little bit of my red, yellow. Kind of bringing that down. Grab a lot more of my yellow. Blending here. And again, we're going to put the tower back in, so don't be stressed if the tower feels like it's you know, blending back. I'm adding some of that yellow back into there. A little bit of yellow. I've got red on my brush, so it's running orange.
Looks really good.
Just run some light back out into the sky. Super playful. No rinse out. I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow and red and get a very bright orange. A little bit of my quinacridone. Now again, we'll put the tower back, so we're just putting some nice color in. Wiped off, I'm going to grab some just yellow. Kind of come in maybe with some magenta. A little bit of yellow with some red on it. Just pure yellow. Dancing it out. Notice I'm just putting it in regular places. Creating kind of a value map, but I'm just playing with color here. So the light or dark is what tells you, you know, what something is or isn't. You know, add a little more yellow to this down area. Okay, I like that. It's looking pretty good. Let's dry everything super thorough.
All right.
So now I'm going to very carefully come around with some white. I've got my angle brush still. And I'm going to make sure that the marks I make around the tower are reminiscent of what I've already done. And their directionality. But white has the ability to paint over the black, so I'm going to be super careful with it. Because I don't want to take away my ability to put the tower back in. So this is the brightest spot of the tower. The lights are glowing out into the night. And also this gives us nice contrast. So besides giving us a great lighting effect, there we go. Now I'm going to come around on the other side. Just dancing that brush around. That's the hard part, is learning how to dance the brush around. Just kind of went along the edge there so that there's good value. That doesn't look bad. Now, while I'm here, I can take a little bit of my yellow and break up that little white halo. That makes sense, so that it's there, but it's not too bad. I'm going to rinse out again very, very thoroughly. Take a little bit of my phthalo blue and ultramarine blue together. I'm going to wipe off my brush with a towel so there's pigment on it. I haven't rinsed it. Get a little of the white blue on here. Make sure that we've got some of that coming down here, breaking up the light. And while I'm here, I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue over to my ultramarine, grab some of my quinacridone and make that dark, dark purple, that indigo. I'm going to paint this up here very carefully. Around my pole, because I don't want to lose the pole. I just need enough information to put the pole back.
Right.
So it might even vanish for the camera here. All you got to do is keep it visible for yourself on your palette. Bring that up there, so that's nice. Kind of little darkness. Now I want to take a little of my Cad yellow and my Cad red. Put some more Cad red. It's a little light that's kind of going through what is the trees back here. Okay. All right, now we want to dry it. So now I want to kind of separate up these two things from each other. I'm going to bring some of my white over to my dark indigo color. I'm going to very carefully kind of define that little background line. I use the line of the foot of the tower to help me see that. I'm going to add a little bit of little blue and white. So it's dark. And then I'll come put the dark back in. Ultramarine blue, Quinacridone Magenta. All right. Then I'm going to come right here. Mixing a dark, dark color. So now we have that separation. Come over here and separate it on the other side, shall we? I'm going to add a little yellow to my burnt sienna and phthalo green. I'm going to make slightly lighter color. Dance around that pole. Then I'm going to take a little bit of my green over here, my burnt sienna, and together they make quite a dark green. Just painting in the darkness of that walk, and then I'll take that up the side. That's looking good.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to dry again, and then I'll tell you what we do when we come back. Now we want to kind of clean up our tower. I'm going to bring a drop of water over to my black paint and work it in, swirling it around until the paint is a little more fluid. It's not as heavy bodied. It's not watery, right? But it is smoother. And I'm going to come here and clean up the line on my tower. This is a little nerve-wracking for me because this is where things can get a little pear-shaped. Oh, see? Pear-shaped. Rinse out. Remove that line, and I'm going to remove this a little bit here. It's a clean brush, and I'm just making sure that it's catching the tower. I keep thinking of the dark tower as I say tower, because this is all dark right now.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
And come here and kind of paint that little deck out. Paint these little legs in. And the nice thing is when you add this extra layer of black, it does get nice and darker. And it cleans it up. So even though this is a very kind of expressive painting, we have these elements of thoughtfulness and control.
Totally.
Now, once I have that in, I'm going to very carefully paint in the dark reflection that is the tower coming out. Brush that down. This is how we start to create the feeling of the reflection.
Yeah, I get that. Reflections in the water.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure I'm painting around the side. Otherwise it won't quite look right. So just starting to have that there. And the reason we don't have it all the way to the edge is we're going to have light coming down here. Now while I'm at this, I'll get another little drop of water over to my black paint. And I'm going to do my best to paint the poles. Start out with just vertical lines. I'm going to rinse out for a second. And get some white paint right on the toe of my brush. Do a little highlight along here. Rinse out. And then in a very careful way, we're going to paint in the back leg. There we go. Now everything, well actually we can do, everything needs to be dry. Everything needs to be dry. I can do it a different way, but it would be harder. So I'm going to dry first. Dry. So now I want to come in and put a little bit of my architecture in. I'm going to grab a little bit of my white and black together. And come across here and just make a little highlight. Get a little more white. Maybe a couple here. Come across here. And another little parallel line. A little more white on there. Just every so often. A vertical line. Try to space them sort of evenly. Grab a little bit of my white and black. I'm going to come here. No, a little more white. I'm going to take that extra line off. I'm going to rinse out. I'm going to trim this one out. It may actually be easier to go back and just paint it black. Sometimes thinning a line is easier going the opposite direction. All right. And I'm also going to take a little bit of I'm still on my round brush. I'm still on my number 6 round, right? And I'm going to begin to we're going to start putting some lights. The tops of these poles. They're in white right now. Take a little bit of my white and gray. And along here. And along here, it's just the white and gray. Clean it up a little bit right there. Get a little white on the toe of my brush. Little radial circles. They're sketchy. This is when you want to be sketchy. You know how everyone's like, don't be sketchy? Be sketchy. So I leave a little space between the white bulb and this little kind of white lining. This helps me do the yellow glow later. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to wiggle out some white. I'm wiggling out this white because it's actually going to be a yellow reflection, but the yellow would not go over this. And I'm making it wiggly so it feels a little bit like water. Then underneath each light, so starting to get those reflections considered out.
Considered reflections.
Yeah. We'll be filling those in later. I'm going to grab a little bit of white and just make sure that the hearts of my lamps are very light. Okay. Once you have that done, you're going to want to dry everything again with your hairdryer. When it's dry, you want to push play and we'll continue painting together. So I'm going to take my angle brush again because I'm going to want to make some like little architectural, little crissy-cross marks. And I'm going to get back into colors that I mixed for the background. So I'm going to get my magenta, has a little bit of my ultramarine in it. I'm going to come here and make little crosses. Coming down the center here. burgundy there. Right above that.
It's the Ron Burgundy.
It's the Ron Burgundy, that's true. Oh. Kind of add a little bit of that pink to that. I'm going to rinse out. Take a little bit of white over to this mix. Put a little bit of a blue kind of counterbalance there. Blue counterbalance. And take a little bit of my red. Maybe some orange. There you go. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my red and my magenta. I'm going to start painting between a little bit of my red and my magenta.
Right.
A little bit of my phthalo blue, my ultramarine blue and white. Just tap this down there. Breaking that up. We want everything dry, so we're going to use our hair dryer again. Now I'm going to take my angle brush and a little bit of my black, and I'm going to be as careful as I can. I'm going to make a little line across that goes to where the feet would be. We'll let that have a little sit there for a second. Just kind of divides up the two zones of life that we've got going on. That which is at the tower and that which is not. I'm going to rinse that out, let that have a dry. I'm going to grab a little bit of my white. I'll make a dot and then a criss cross. Dot and then a criss cross.
I love all the sparkles there.
Yeah. We'll come back with some yellow and kind of blend those in. But it's going to help to have the white down first. We can always put more white back. Okay, while that's having a dry, I'm going to grab some yellow. Paint this all in right here. And come around a little light. Just capturing the light over here. And the yellow. Get a little bit of orange. That colorful, so some nice downward reflections.
Yeah.
A little yellow around the lights. And at this point, our white has dried on our tower, but if it's not dry, you need to dry it with a hairdryer. Mine's bone dry, so I can keep going.
Go on to the next step here.
No, it's still part of the step. There's a yellow step.
Okay.
Bring some yellow. Making sure the glow on it is really good. Making sure the yellow around this one is really good. Sometimes you look at something and you're like, ah, that's not right. You grab some white. Wiggle some of that down. Get some gray. I rush across there. All right, now we do need to draw everything. So I'm going to take my number 0 Raphael Precision. I just want a fine, sharp brush. I'm going to get some clean water, and I'm going to thin out my white a little bit. I'm going to do a dot. In the center of these. Little white centers. And I'm going to also kind of highlight the little X's. So yellow's there, but that white is sort of glittering. A little bit there. And I'm going to grab my 1/2 inch angle again and get some white. Make sure the brush isn't very wet. because I want to be doing this as a very immediate way. And now we're going to just touch up the glow. Just making sure that the tower is a-glowing. Just making sure it's nice and white in the little lights. Go ahead and, with my detail brush, kind of finish out some detailing on my little lights.
I love all the little lighting there on the end of it.
Yeah, we're just doing a little bit of like last minute lighting. All right. Once you have all of that in, you can try to figure out how to do a signature on such a colorful painting. And what I'm going to say is, on this one, I would be inclined to either sign in black in the front or sign around the side. And I feel like my signature will mess up this nice reflection that I painted.
Yeah.
So I just don't want to put it there.
Okay, that makes sense.
No, I'm going to make sure that all my white is covered. And everything looks good. Touch up anything I need to touch up. I can remove my glasses and actually see my painting now. Fantastic. Okay, that sounded backwards to what it is. I see mid-range, but not far and not close. So I have reading glasses and then glasses I have for like driving and things like that. Multi-glasses. Oh my goodness. I can't. This was a colorful one. This was a playful one. This was just something light after some hard classes that I thought you guys might appreciate. Something playful and colorful. And also, you know, the Olympics was in Paris this year. And I could have done it at the beginning of the thing. I didn't think about it because I didn't actually know when the Paris Olympics dates are. But go Simone Biles.
Go America!
Did so good.
Well,
everybody.
Yeah, but
I want to cheer for everybody, especially at the Olympics and all the competitors that come out because they cheer for each other. I love America.
Cheer for everybody,
I love America.
But we got to win.
I love her, but I can also have love for, planet Earth.
Everybody gets to play.
It's my home. I live here. And I can't live anywhere else. No matter what Elon says, I'm not going to Mars. That's never happening.
Earth.
I'm Earth-based. I'm an Earth-based human. Okay. Well, that was a weird ramble.
Deviation.
But so hopefully you were able to find everything you needed. Description down below. One of the things that you can do is if you're really proud of your painting and you'd like to share with me, you could put it anywhere in social media with the hashtag the Art Sherpa or hashtag Acrylic August or hashtag Acrylic April. Acrylic April is actually quite a big hashtag now, so sometimes people just use it and you can see some really fun stuff. There's a group, the Acrylic April group, and you can share all the paintings from this challenge in there, and you have so many people in there doing that. And it's really fantastic, and it's a curated group, so like the group is for this challenge, and people are sharing their experiences in the challenge and supporting each other. I also have my Art Sherpa official group, which is pretty big, and it's also curated, and a great place to just bring your experiences and talk to people about what was great for you or what was hard, and they will be there to support you. So those are your resources. And we even have a Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we even have a Discord. So we have all the things.
We have people who hang out in it.
No idea how to invite you into it, but I have it. So it exists. We try to make sure we have all the things. So you have lots of places to share your artwork. I hope if this was your favorite of the thing, or if this was exactly the right painting that you needed right now, let me know in the comments down below. Cause like a lot of times I imagine your experience along the journey, and I'm like, right about now, I think they're going to feel like this. Cause like right about now, I'm feeling like that. I kind of know, cause I'm going through it too.
Yeah.
So let me know what you thought of this. Other than that, I want you to be good to yourself, be good to each other, and I'll see you at an easel real soon. Bye-bye.